Well, let's see how well we do with this. It keeps turning itself off. I do apologise for the darkness of the situation. Right, you're going to be perched from here. That's partly full box of wine. A bit of proof in there, I don't know if you can see anything from that. And let's position you. Wait, there's a beast on. The beast is on. There we are. Hi, I'm TP Archie. I'm going to read from my book, A Guide to First Contact. The book is about first contact with aliens, it's about science fiction, it's about post-apocalyptic events. It's also about me writing for 4 years and trying to finish the blame thing. It's 160,000 words in length, which at 100 words a minute would equate to 1,600 minutes. You don't have to listen to all that. I'm going to read a little bit from a chapter called Capitaires. It really sets the scene. It tells you a bit about the world, and it starts like this. I do hope you can see me. Capitaires is a renowned institution devoted to certain matters conducive to the accumulation, preservation and dissemination of knowledge. Based in a heavily fortified facility in the Central Massif, it has also been present in Quebec for over 30 years. Its establishment being a belated but necessary response to the challenges of the time, and resulted in considerable advantages through the registration and eventual rehoming of refugee civilians. Once the refugee problem had climaxed and tapered, Capitaires ceased to act in this capacity, reverting instead to its primary purpose. For a fee, access to its various functions is permitted. For example, assistance in the discovery of persons missing or presumed dead, or in gun licensing matters. I think we should throw some light on the matter. I shall be back. Don't go anywhere. I hope that's a bit better. It has often been debated whether the chaos of civilian dislocation, which was of course a decisive factor in the disorder and eventual fall of many nations, even the former United States, could have been avoided. Sensitive souls decried the consequential failure of aid projects, even as Western civilization rapidly collapsed into remorseless ruin. When the protections offered to the self-same aid agencies disappeared, the havoc created, havoc wreaked in the Third World was amplified, and that in turn had a definite and decisive impact in accelerating the disintegration of the world order. Efforts at reconstruction were limited, and often curtailed by the spread of anarchy. There is little doubt that more might have been rescued. At what effort and cost, however, is a matter that has been and will continue to be hotly debated. What is certain is that after the fall, Quebec was the only place in l'Amérique du Nord to which anarchy had not spread, a fact that the Quebecois were determined to maintain, by force if necessary. Of the matters that brought humanity to this pass, more is spoken in its proper place. And what of the city of Quebec? It is gleaming with new and recent construction. A prominent feature of the city is a sleek and efficient transportation system, an elevated rail network encased within a translucent Yasmin ochre shell, which in turn rests on elegant and stylish house apportments hundreds of feet above ground level. Oh, excuse me. The house apportments resemble towers sporting an eye near their top, just like a needle. The Yasmin ochre shell is made from a potent star blend, resistant to most known technologies of this planet. This strength and its elevation confer ample protection from the anarchic elements and the depredations of the degenerate, making it an almost totally safe method of transportation. The hub of the system from which the house apportments radiate lies to the north of the city centre. Spaced at 500-metre intervals, they stride off east into the thriving communities of Acadia and snake southwest through the cities along the St. Lawrence, Trois-Rivières, Montreal, and across Lake Ontario to the military complex that has grown up and around Niagara Falls and Buffalo. Thus, direct links are provided between the administrative capital of l'Amérique du Nord and its subordinate centres. Occasionally referred to as le métro aérien, this transportation system is reserved solely for the use of official administrators on their business, and of course the military. Adjacent to Acadia, sited on and around the former state of Maine, are the micronations that make up the Petit État border region. Le Métro Aérien does not extend there. Looking west and south of the Métro Aérien hub, and directly adjacent to the now little used Jean Lesage International, lies the Aérovalia, the major destination point for air traffic bound to l'Amérique du Nord. This air traffic consists largely of air-eye, the vehicle of choice for the higher-ranking officialdom. Forms of travel using older technologies are still in use, but these are constantly beset by the inherent difficulties of legacy techniques and obsolescence. The air-eye are clean, compact personal air transport vehicles, each capable of carrying a VIP with a small entourage. Designed according to off-world schematics, they are capable of great speed over long distances and are usually armed. Many are not much bigger than a pickup truck, and, powered by unknown technologies, they resist attempts to reverse engineer. Air-eye are refuelled and serviced in the Aérovalia by processes that few, even among even amongst the extraterrestrials are witness to. We've had false teeth that have flown out then. Continuing south and west from the Aérovalia, one soon encounters the part of Quebec that has been demolished to make way for the silent, but not empty, starport. As originally conceived, the starport was to have been the focus of a thriving hub of organisational activity, with all the concomitant spin-offs and commercial benefits that such an enterprise implies. Hence, having the Aérovalia near was no accident. It was an efficient and logical choice. However, for these past 30 years and more, arrivals and departures to the starport have been noticeable by their complete absence. A number of conjectures have been put forward to account for this matter. The authorities have declined to comment. This paucity of off-world business also applies to the great facility just south of Paris, as well as the lesser and still incomplete starports at Smyrna and Trebizond in Rum. A significant consequence is the stranding of non-human crews and their various alien passengers, thus giving a new lease of life to that adage, the best laid plans of mice and men, and apparently non-humans, go oft awry. Although it is difficult to determine why no star vessels are landing or departing, it is pretty apparent that this is an unexpected state of affairs to all concerned, as evidenced by occasional lapses in mannered etiquette by some of the aliens. Much concerning the stranded aliens is little understood, even though they have been incarcerated on Earth for so long. But one could infer that this situation continued to heighten frustration and resentment among the non-human community, and not to be far from the mark. These creatures, stranded on Earth for over 30 years, a period longer than many humans had been alive, have come to be accorded the title of FET, former extraterrestrial, during normal conversation. The starports are manned and guarded solely by FETs. The border between Acadia and the Petit État is patrolled by the Mounted Corps. The Mounted Corps, sometimes mistakenly referred to as Mounties, are jointly managed by the Québécois and the Petit État, ostensibly for the defence of the latter. The Corps offers employment that involves tours of duty, guarding against incursions from the anarchy-filled regions still further south, where the only surviving traces of civilization are the enclaves, still clinging stubbornly to their land. Teenagers and young men of a particular disposition are attracted by the prospect of hardships and dangers that this offers. The primary scope of operations is along a picket line stretching from St. John on Baie de Fundy through Fredericton to Rivière de Lulu, effectively the border between Acadia and the Petit État. This means that in practice Acadia alone is properly protected. This has the important benefit of making it easier for Quebec to assert direct control, and the unfortunate side effect that the Petit État are frequently left to fend for themselves. Those rangers that survive and thrive on this risk may, after a suitable time, apply to Capitaires for the appropriate licences and permits, so they can hire themselves out to the more dangerous and thus more lucrative enclave work. The Petit État, huddled against the settled safety to the north, are a patchwork of micronations, constantly jockeying among themselves for supremacy. After the fall they struggled to statehood and were the first destination in the resettlement of East Coast refugees that were then flooding into Quebec. These migrants considered themselves to have every right to resist being deported, but Quebec had little appetite for feeding wanting mouths and speedily ejected those who, when confronted by can-do, couldn't. Initially overwhelmed by this influx, the micronations were close to collapse, quickly filling to the brim with unwilling émigrés demanding aid, resentful refugees who, blind to bigger issues, laid the blame for their situation with Quebec. In turn, the Québécois perceived value in the Petit État as a bulwark against creeping anarchy from the south. In due course, these residual statelets from the État uni began to receive a subsidy to maintain effective security arrangements. Could a relationship with a state, seen as at least partly responsible for the collapse in the world order, be considered reprehensible? What if it serves a greater good? In this instance, a key source of employment for the Petit État lies in securing the peace and prosperity of the Acadia communities. This state of affairs is seldom convenient for the respective parties to acknowledge. Were the business of this subsidy made public, many might find it to be repugnant. That Quebec pays for the maintenance of the Mounted Corps would shout "client state" instead of "can do." Yet the arrangement keeps the Sioux nations in check. And what of those bigger issues? The safety and prosperity of Quebec is underpinned by its participation and contribution to that magnificent coup de grace, the Mandat Culturel project, albeit at a high price. There we are. I hope you enjoyed that. That's the 6th reading. Goodness me. What more can I say? Guide is available on Lulu. Probably dig it out under TP Arch. If you want to find it on Amazon, its as-in number is B00EUI42U2. It's so easy to remember that, I'll say it again. B00EUI4202. Thanks for listening.